Hey y'all, what's going on? This is Brendan. So I'm making a Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 tutorial because I got a comment on one of my last videos from somebody who felt like the game was pretty hard, and which is common. Most people think Guilty Gear is pretty hard, and for good reason. So I wanted to make a video simplifying the game and showing the important things that I think you should learn when you first pick up the game, so that you're not confused, because this game has a lot of system mechanics. It has a lot of system mechanics, has a high execution barrier, and it's anime. And anime fighting games are terrifying to people. When they see those anime characters and they see how fast they're moving, and people are using terms and abbreviations they don't understand, it just seems like a really, really high mountain to climb. And a lot of people just don't want to bother with that, and I understand. But really, it's not that difficult. With fighting games, there always are things. There's always going to be things that have a really high ceiling. There's always going to be things that are really difficult. But when you're first starting out, it doesn't have to be that hard. So I want to show what it's like to first start playing the game, not knowing anything, and just show you the basics that you need to know to start playing and start winning. I know there's going to be a new Guilty Gear out soon, right? Like they're making a new one, thank God. Waiting on that announcement. But in the meantime, even if they do announce it, you could still play this game, and I'm sure it'll prepare you for the next one, because I'm assuming they're still going to use the same game engine and everything. And either way, this game is still a really, really fun game. So it's still a fun game to play, even if they do announce a new one and it's totally different from this one. So I hope it helps you out, and hopefully it gets you wanting to play some more Guilty Gear, because Guilty Gear is one of my favorite fighting games. Like, it's actually so sick. Okay, so first things first, what you want to know about Guilty Gear first is you want to know the actual notation, what your buttons do and stuff like that, because when you're talking to somebody else about Guilty Gear, or somebody's teaching you Guilty Gear, they're going to use terms and stuff you don't know. So when you flee the nest, when you leave this video and you start talking to other people about Guilty Gear, you're going to want to know these terms so that you know what you're talking about. And these terms transfer to a lot of different fighting games, so don't worry, it's worth learning. Everything in Guilty Gear is worth learning, because remember, fighting game skill transfers from game to game, so just shut up, learn it, and I promise it'll be good for you. Alright, so the first thing you need to know is that the directional pad. So think of it, and I'll have something on the screen for you guys, but in a lot of anime games and in Guilty Gear, they explain the directions that you hold the stick, if you look at the pad there, using like a number pad notation. So like down back, you can see on the virtual pad there, that down back, that would be 1. This would be 2, 3, 6, 9, 8, 7, 4, and then neutral is 5. Okay? And then the buttons, which you'll see it says P, K, S, H, S, D. So what that stands for is punch, which is your lightest button. It's your fastest button, shortest range, it's your quickest button. Kick, or K, is the next in order. And then slash, or S, is next in order. And then HS stands for heavy slash, which is next in order. And then dust is the last one, or D. So, if somebody is talking about the notation, they might say, do souls 2K. So 2 on the number pad means down, and then K means kick. So that means hit down and kick. That's 2K. If I said 5S, 5 means having the stick in neutral. So the stick is at neutral by default, so that's 5. And then S is slash. Boom. That's 5S. Pretty simple. So a lot of times if you see somebody explaining a combo, they'll say like 5K, 5S, 5HS, right? So that would be right there. I didn't have to move the stick. And then if they said end it with I don't know, end it with 2D, which is this, 2 to hold down, D to sweep. So it would be 1, 2, 3, boom, right? So that's notation, really important to know. And yeah, so with the number pad notation, people will use that to explain how you do like quarter circles and stuff. So like people will say a fireball motion is quarter circle forward punch, right? That's what it would be in like Street Fighter. In Guilty Gear, they'll abbreviate it as 236P, 236P, right? Or if you're doing it backwards, like a quarter circle back, that would be 214P, which does a fake gun flame, does a little feint, right? Or like a half circle would be 4, 1, 2, 3, 6. So a half circle forward would be 4, 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay, which that's not the input for that move, but I'm just letting you know. this game has, which you saw me do there, a chain system, which in this game they call it gatling. And chaining is basically when you're comboing somebody, it basically allows you to cancel your normal attacks into each other in a set order. So you can hit them with a punch. If you press kick when it hits, punch will chain into kick. And then if you press slash while kick is hitting, it'll chain into slash, right? And then if you press heavy slash while slash is hitting, it will chain into heavy slash. So slash hits, press heavy slash, and it chains into that. And then heavy slash will chain into dust. There's a lot of fighting games that do this, so if you're not new to fighting games, then this isn't news to you, but you can chain them. Now, you have to be careful, though, because every character is different. Some characters will actually be told that they're not allowed to chain a certain normal into another one. Like, you know, theoretically they are supposed to be able to chain them in order, but like I said, every character is unique, so sometimes they might not be able to chain certain attacks together. But the important thing is no character is ever able to like go backwards. You can't go heavy slash into slash or heavy slash into kick. So yeah, pretty common stuff there, and you just have to play around with your character and see what actually does combo. As you can see, when I combo all of Soul's normals together in order, his 5D dust does not reach. His 2D, which crouching sweep, does not reach. So just because you can chain them together doesn't mean that it's exactly what you're supposed to do. Okay, so those are the buttons, and explain the gatling system. And then of course you have your standard special moves, just like any other game. You'll want to check your command list and see what your character has. I'm not going to go over the specific special moves that Soul has, because it's not a Soul guide, but rather a Guilty Gear guide. You're going to want to go over that with your specific character. Next thing I want to go over is the meter system. So in this game, it's called Tension. And the way that tension works is pretty interesting compared to a lot of other fighting games, because tension, yeah, fuck you, Kai, because tension increases when you walk forward towards your opponent or you're aggressive. See how my meter's going up in the bottom? Or if I run towards them, I hit them. So Guilty Gear really rewards aggressive play. Guilty Gear wants you to get aggressive. It wants you to get in your opponent's face, wants you to hit your gatlings, you know, do your special moves. That's what they want you to do. And when you build tension, there's a lot you can do with tension. So I mean, with your actual character yourself, like I said, you got your normal attacks, and you got your special moves, and obviously you can cancel normals into specials just like any other fighting game. And you got your gatlings, where you know you're gatlining punch, kick, slash into like a special move, right? That didn't combo, but you understand the idea. So that wouldn't really be too hard for you to play around with and figure some stuff out with your character, right? Like I could gatling these two attacks together and do an uppercut, right? I'm not saying that's what you should do with Soul, but I'm just saying that you could, if you never played this game, you would at least be able to figure that out from what I said so far. I'll just kind of run through PK, S, Heavy Slash, and Dust, and kind of run through what each normal is typically going to do. Real quick. So Punch is your fastest normal. So in situations where you're really close to the opponent and you can reach them, all of your buttons will reach them, but Punch is going to be your fastest one. So in really pinch situations where you wanna hit your opponent, you're typically going to run with a punch because it's so fast, and if they don't choose their punch, then you're going to beat them out because yours will come out faster. So punches are very, very fast, and they're typically going to be used to just beat out slower moves, and they're going to be used to start in close range because you can gatling them into other buttons. And some buttons, like I said, can't be gatlinged into others, so I mean, you just have to test that out with your character. Okay, now kick. Kick has a little bit more range, and depending on your character, sometimes certain buttons may be an anti-air. So if you see your button kind of reach towards the sky, you're typically going to be able to anti-air with it. Soul's kick, you can. Kai's, you can't anti-air with it, right? They have different uses. A lot of characters' kicks will typically be a low. Not their standing one, like 5K. With Souls, it's not. With Kai, it is. Some characters have a standing low, which means he's standing, but this hits low, meaning that you have to block low in order to block it. Blocking in this game is, and I'll get into defense and blocking soon, but blocking in this game, if you didn't know, is by holding down back to block. It's just like Street Fighter, Marvel, or anything else. So down back to block low attacks, and then back to block mids and highs. Yeah, so, and then characters 2K, which is their crouching kick, is typically a low. This can oftentimes be used as like a starter, so if you get a knockdown, you can go up for a low, right? So 2K is typically going to be your low. This is a key normal. So remember, punches are going to be your fast attacks to kind of fire back, right? Kicks, and oh yeah, obviously 6P, a very key normal because it has upper body invul, gonna be used for anti-airing, right? Now kicks, gonna be used for lows, for mix-up, so you jump in with a high, go low, right? Slashes, because we're getting into the higher range normals, your slashes are typically gonna be your pokes in the mid-range with your opponent, right? So, so like with Kai, his poke goes a bit further than mine, so Kai can stay in this distance and just kind of poke and then cancel into special move, right? Like this, right? So that's his far slash. It's going to be typically used. Your slashes is where you're kind of getting into like pokes and you know, that kind of thing. Heavy slashes, essentially the same deal. You're getting into pokes and stuff. A lot of people's 2H, they're crouching heavy slashes and anti-air. So kind of experiment, see if they start swinging for the sky. If they do, then it's typically going to be an anti-air, as long as you have the read. They might be a bit slow, but they can be used for pokes, like I said, so you can do stuff like this. Okay, and then your dust. So character's dust is typically this move that has this really long wind up, and you see this orange little ball show up, and the orange ball is essentially an indicator to let you know that it's an overhead. It's interesting because with all the other attacks, if they hit, it's just like any other fighting game, they hit. Now if you hit someone with a dust, they fly away like that. Now when it hits, if you press up when it hits, you'll fly up into the sky after them. And if you hit forward when it hits, they go into what's called a tumble, where they start rolling on the ground, and then you can run after them. So if you hold forward after hitting dust, you run after them. If you hit up after holding dust, you fly after them. Now dust is kind of used as just like a last ditch overhead. You don't want to use it too much because it's reactable and you'll end your pressure when you could do better mix-ups and better strings instead of just doing this all the time. But sometimes you can catch people off guard with it. If it hits, it goes into a mode where you're essentially able to, I explained earlier that you gatling your normal attacks in order, and you can't just do like heavy slash repeatedly, right? It won't let you because you have to gatling it into like dust. That's the only thing left in the order. But you go into a special mode essentially when you hit someone with dust, in which that changes to where you can essentially just kind of like anything goes, gatling a bunch of attacks. So that's Soul's air heavy, and that's me just gatling. That's such a fucking weird thing to say. Gatling them like 7 times in a row, basically. So I mean, you can just do like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then into like a special move or something like that. So if you hit someone within the wall, same deal. You can just kind of go nuts on them. If you want some specific combos for your character, watch a combo video for your character and they'll show you what to do off of dust if it hits. But just know you can essentially just kind of go ham with like slash, heavy slash. Like you just typically you just go nuts with some heavy normals and then end it with a special move. That's usually what you do. It's nothing too crazy there. Yeah, and then 2D with every character is a sweep. So if you want to end in a knockdown, you'll typically gatling some normals like punch, kick. Oh, didn't reach. Yeah, his has pretty shit range. But this is how you're going to get your knockdown with a lot of characters, and this is how you're going to get your mix-up started. You always want to get the knockdown, because once you get the knockdown, you can do some mix-ups, stuff like that, okay? Another important thing about normals, so we went through all the general normals and what they do. So you're gonna want to look for your 6P, which is your anti-air. Any other normals that swing for the sky, so you can anti-air people. Your sweep, so you can get some knockdowns at the end of your gatlings, really important. Some good pokes with slashes and heavy slash. Look for some good pokes, and then you can probably cancel them into some special moves for your character. Super important to go through your normals. Okay, so we touched on normals a bit briefly. Another thing that Guilty Gear has that a lot of other fighting games have too are called command normals, which is essentially, we went over P, K, S, heavy slash, dust. Did that out of order, but whatever, you get the point. But your normals will often change if you hold a certain direction. I mean, if you play fighting games, you know that if you hold down to crouch, your normals will oftentimes change. Like this is 2K, remember, holding down and kick, and this is 5K, standing up and holding kick, and if you jump and hit kick, it changes. So just like Street Fighter or any other fighting game, your normals will change depending on crouch, standing, or airborne, right? Now your normals don't change when you're close to the opponent. So this is heavy slash. That's close. This is if you're close to them, and then this is, you know, crouching, crouching. There's only one normal attack that changes depending on distance, and it's slash. Specifically, only the standing slash. So 5S or standing slash is this. It's referred to as far slash. So in notations, you'll see it written as FS. F for the word far, and then S for slash. So FS means far slash. If I run close, you'll see me hit slash, it changes. That's close slash. Every character in the game has this. So you'll see this is my heavy slash. If I get close, it's still the same thing. This is my punch, 5P. If I get close, still the same thing. This is far slash. If I get close, it changes. And far slash does gatling into close slash does gatling into far slash with pretty much every character. And remember, gatling just means chaining the normal into the next one by hitting the next normal in sequence when the first one connects. First one connects, hit the next one, there you go. So close slash, far slash. And Kai can do the same thing, because like I said, every character can do it. So this is Kai's far slash. If I get close and press the same button, it changes to this, and it gatlings into it. One gatlings into the other. Okay? Now, command normals that I was talking about originally, before I got myself off topic, is, like I said, if you hold a direction, your normals can change. This is dependent on the character, so not every character is the same, but there is one command normal that every character has that you should really focus on. So remember, I'm highlighting key things that you want to focus on. In movement, the key thing I brought up was instant air dashing. Please practice that. Now in the command normal section that we're on now, it's going to be 6P. Now remember, on your number pad notation, 6 means forward, P means punch, so this means forward punch. Now every character's 6P has upper body invulnerability. So what does that mean? It means that depending on the character, but typically it's from like the waist up. You can't tell because there's nothing showing you, but about from the waist up, Soul is completely invulnerable to attacks. So if Kai were to do like a jumping slash at me, you can 6P it. Whoops. And see how it counter hits Kai? Even though Kai hit his button first, the attack won't hit me because I'm invulning through it. You can see that. So this is referred to as a 6P. So people will often say, and if you play Dragon Ball FighterZ, it's in Dragon Ball FighterZ, 2H is essentially the same as 6P in a sense, because 2H in that game, crouching heavy, is invulnerable to airborne attacks. It's a little bit different because you're not invulnerable to airborne attacks in Guilty Gear. You have upper body invulnerability. So this means that your legs can still get clipped. You can still get your shoes shined. Oops. Let me just have him jump and then do that. It'll be a little bit easier. Whoops, I hit him too early. So you see how I got counter hit there. See? Some of the 6Ps are so ridiculous that they can actually counter mid pokes like this. I don't know if Souls can, but I think it can. Yep, look at that. It can even be used in neutral as a counter poke. So like if I think he's gonna poke at me, I can invul through it and hit him. So 6Ps are super important out of all the command normals you can learn. The rest are just specific to your character. Like for example, this is Soul's 6H. So if you hit forward, heavy slash, he does that. You're gonna have to look at some character guides to see specifically what your characters are used for, because it's different for each character. And this is a general guide for Guilty Gear. So yeah, so if somebody instant air dashes at you, remember the example I gave before where Kai threw a fireball and I instant air dashed. Whoop, I instant air dashed over it. Oh my god. Like that. Now, what Kai could do is, let's say that I jumped the gun and I was wrong. Let's say Kai did a jab instead, right? He did a jab, he didn't actually throw a fireball. If I take the bait and I instant air dash at him, he can 6P me. That's his 6P, a little elbow right there. Oops. Oops, I'm not landing on him properly. See that counter hit right there? So what Kai did is, it's just an example, but if that's why you instant air dash with a purpose. I instant air dashed to get over his fireball and punish him. He doesn't throw the fireball, I get punished. Because when you're air dashing at someone like this, you're completely vulnerable throughout the entire air dash. And you're completely vulnerable in the air to grounded attacks in this game. So if you're in the air, you can air block in Guilty Gear. I'll show you. Oops. One of these days. See if I can just jump into it. Actually, hold on, this would be a lot easier to show. But you can see I can air block there. So the thing is that you can only air block certain attacks. So typically grounded normal attacks, like you see like this with Soul, or this, you know, if you see your character have any kind of attack that's relatively quick and attacks into the air, this is going to be your anti-air attacks in the neutral. So you're going to want to be using these normal attacks to blow up your opponent air dashing at you, along with your 6P. Now your 6P, you'll notice your 6P is not attacking up towards the sky, right? But it has upper body invul, so it doesn't really matter. As long as like I showed you with Kai jumps at me and his attack misses on my head, and then as he's falling through my body, this punches him in the gut, which is great, right? And then these types of normals right here are great for anti-air. So let's look at Kai's, and you'll notice. Let's see. So this is not good for anti-air because he's just kicking at your feet. No, boom. Typically characters 2H, they're crouching heavy, is typically a good anti-air, but I mean that's just for these guys, that's not always the case. And then his 6P will invul attacks that are coming from the air as well, and these are going to be unblockable for your opponent. So if I oops, so I'll have as Kai, I'm going to jump and block. And you can see I jumped and held back, and he still gets hit, right? Okay, so we basically just discussed the normal attacks, the gatling system, and what all of your normal attacks are essentially used for. Special moves are unique to the character, but we kind of covered that typically what you're going to be doing is canceling certain normals into special moves to either poke at people or doing a gatling into a special move for like a combo. It's going to be specific with your character, and you can look up combo videos online, but there's just so much to cover when it comes to normals, and they're such an important part of the game. So that'll pretty much do it for this part. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and continuing on to the next part, there'll be a lot of stuff in there for you to learn as well. Thanks so much.